So Barrett, you got Rally on the corner doing business as twice the ice of the Black Hills. Do you need two business cards or do you use like a 4-point font? So that's the way they opened up opened up the podcast today, stumbling all of my words. But we don't do any edits, Jess. So, you can remember the question that I just asked you, Barrett. How do you identify yourself?
So we just go by Twice Guys Black Hills. Rally on the Corner is just kind of our legal business name. When we first started, we started using our property as a rally vendor lot. And that's kind of how the name came about, Rally on the Corner. It kind of proceeded into ice, and now we're full-blown ice business now.
Okay. Gotcha. So, do you compete with yourself at all with the vending machine or machines, or tell us a little bit about that? We're definitely going to get further into the interview and talk all about things business and what you're doing. But do you have any competition with yourself?
Not really. I mean, we have the only Twice the Ice machine in the entire state of South Dakota. So there's no other ice vending machine out there in South Dakota as far as I'm aware. But we do service quite a few of the gas stations and grocery stores and liquor stores and things like that in the area. So to us, there's really not much competition.
So it sounds to me like you have the market cornered as far as there in South Dakota with that vending machine.
Correct. Yeah. In Western South Dakota, yeah, we won't go any more than about a 120-mile radius, when we do deliver ice. But in the actual Sturgis market, I do believe we do have that to ourselves.
So is Twice the Ice, is that a franchise, and how is that done? Can you talk to anything related to that business?
Yeah, so it is not a franchise. You independently own and operate the machine yourself. You do everything that you would as a business owner. But you do get to use the name Twice the Ice, since that kind of has a brand recognition. Kind of like down south, it's really prominent down there. Up in the Midwest, not as much. But we are allowed to use the name, and we own and operate the machine ourselves. We don't pay any royalties or anything like that to Ice House America or Twice the Ice in Georgia.
Yeah. Okay.
Very interesting. Why don't you introduce our guest for us?
Yeah, so we've got a great episode for you today, episode 29. Our guest is Barrett Keith. Barrett is the owner of Rally on the Corner, which, as we mentioned, does business as Twice the Ice of the Black Hills. And to give you an idea of the location, they cover Sturgis, South Dakota, which is the home of the famous motorcycle rally. So that's where he was talking about having the lot or the property for the rally. When I first met Barrett, he called me up. He was operating the vending machine on the side of the road, the Twice the Ice machine, and was trying to build that into a business, and was curious about the ice industry and getting software. And he's grown his business, and so we want to let him tell you about that today. So tell us about your choice to get into the ice industry and start with that Twice the Ice machine, Barrett.
Yeah, so it all starts when I was real little, about maybe 10, 11 years old. My father had plans to do one down in Pueblo, Colorado, where we lived at the time, but we were actually in Colorado Springs. Never really panned out to anything. Then as I got through college, started looking, there's a lady on Instagram named Cody Sanchez. And it's all boring businesses.
Yeah, very familiar.
That's what kind of sparked my interest in it again. And I was like, well, maybe we need to start looking at this again. And obviously there's a market, here in Western South Dakota. So we started, looking at it, and we decided to buy our very first machine. But before we even, decided to do the machine, we had found this property in Sturgis, at a great price, and like, well, let's start renting some vendor space out, for the motorcycle rally. So we went through our first year doing that, and then the following year, we got enough money to put the improvements in for the actual machine itself. And then after that, kind of the rest is history.
Yeah. So, there's quite a few people in the audience, they got some strong opinions, when it comes to these, the roadside ice machines. And, how has your company evolved and, taken a step forward? And, what are you doing these days?
So right now we're probably more 90% wholesale and distribution. And all that ice that we're moving to all our different customers across the Black Hills or Western South Dakota comes from Yellowstone Ice and Billings, Montana. So that's what has really grown our business. As we found out, it's really hard to sell a bag of ice here in South Dakota in the wintertime. Being cold, so I think that's probably what's really grown our business is doing more of the wholesale distribution and going away from more of the drive up business. We, originally what we planned to do in the beginning.
What would you say your summer? What time frame do you have that you say is your summer months being in South Dakota? Because we're in Alabama or Florida, but it's probably 9 months out of the year down here that
Right.
we will sell ice, on the regular.
So I'd say Western South Dakota is really tourist based, more so than weather based. A lot of time. So basically from about the end of school getting out, like in May, typically to about the end of deer season, which is about the end of October here.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're just kind of, 9 to nothing pretty much during those months. And then, now we kind of slow down a little bit and try to rebuild and get all the equipment order we need for the next year coming up and get our trucks work on and all that stuff. So it's definitely a much shorter season than as, say like you guys in Alabama. But we do get a little bit of business in the wintertime, for, maybe a bar's ice maker goes down and need, 50 bags of ice, some stuff like that. But we try to stay busy as best we can. And
yeah. So we want to talk about the rally a little bit. So I want to ask, as we begin talking about that, do you ride motorcycles or do all the locals hate motorcycles? What would you say to that?
I personally don't ride motorcycles, excuse me. Just not really my thing. I'm 6'8", so me and a bike just don't really mix in my opinion. But there's a lot of people, around the Black Hills that don't really like the rally. So they just leave. They'll rent their house out for 2 weeks,
Yeah,
leave.
that I would be a little bit scared to rent my house out like Airbnb during the rally, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally don't do that, but I know people that do. But yeah, no, a lot of people do leave. There is some people that stayed, but like if you're in Rapid City, you're not as much affected if you were like in Hill City, Custer, even just Sturgis proper, or Spearfish. It's a constant just rumble, just about 24 hours out of the day. But I remember when I was still living kind of close up there, I woke up around 2 a.m. to a motorcycle doing a burnout or a wheelie or something right out the road. So it's definitely a really, really loud place, come the rally time.
Yeah, I have to ask you. So 6'8", and I always get usually whenever because we do so many web meetings, and then when I meet somebody at a show or something like that, they're like, "Oh, you're taller than I thought you'd be." It, and usually, yeah, I guess most of the time, I mean, people just think you're average height, right? So,
It depends how you face your camera. I mean, if
you show up and somebody says, "Hey, oh, you're shorter than I thought you'd be." I mean, that's usually isn't a topic of conversation, and somebody's going to rate. So you get 6'8", I'm 6'3", so you're a mountain little man, honest.
Yeah.
Um, sports cars are out. That's not going to be a typical thing for you. My son, he is just a little bit taller than me now, and I said, "Son, I hope you get to 6'5", 6'6". But if you go 6'7", it's a different walk in life because everywhere you walk through every door frame, you got to bend down slightly. So, what's it like being 6'8" in life?
Yeah, you definitely have to bend in the shower, going underneath doors in some instances. You got to buy a bigger vehicle, in my case. So, Can't really drive a sedan or SUV or anything. I have a big truck. So I'd say that's probably the big thing is just having stuff that fits you and wear clothes and find shoes that fit you as well too. That's probably the biggest thing for me. I always have problems finding shoes. So
Yeah. My son, he's now in size 14s, but what do you wear? What size you
I wear a 17 or 18 depending on the like shoes. So it's pretty rough. But sometimes I get lucky at like Ross, even like TJ Maxx every once in a while, depending on what they have. So it's really just kind of a get lucky scheme going on when you walk in the store. So
Who knew on our podcast that you get fashion advice, via right? They go to Walt's TJ Maxx. If you're a big guy, you might for some large SKUs, maybe you can find something there. So, being in the industry, is there anything that I know you talked about maybe getting in some of the trucks and things like that people just aren't aware of? That being a 6'8", are there anything that you've noticed that some of your shorter brethren don't have a height challenge issue that you do?
personally for me, when we get down to the bottom of the pallet, getting ice off of it, it sucks. I mean, other guys that work for us that are a little shorter, they don't have a problem doing it. But I'm constantly bending down all the way. We get a bag of ice off the pallet. So that'd be, probably the biggest difference. But other than that, we're all using electric pallet jacks and taking the powder out the truck right to the box. So it's not terrible unless you get to the bottom of the pallet, getting the bags off. That's what really, really hurts me. Go for my back. But
All right, so this is a PSA for all the verbally challenged people out there. If you see a taller person, get that bottom, bags off that bottom layer for them. Run you out for sure. Well, I wanted to go over to the photos that we had You're not privy to any of these. We're just going to go through for some of the people that, yeah, I'm sure you've heard of Sturgis, but we got a few photos we found that we found interesting. So, when we're looking at this photo here, first thing that came out, I always thought bikers would be rebels, and you got lines here.
They look very well organized, don't they?
You have to park in line, not go along.
Well,
That's weird.
when you have 500,000 visitors coming to the area, you gotta cooperate, right? Or else it's gonna be a mess.
yeah, it's a hot mess during that 10-day stunt. There's a lot going on and people just everywhere. So you gotta really be careful and just kind of do due diligence to get home. So
You could see this down here on the bottom left, but this is This is a picture Jeff found. I have no idea. This looks like double canes with you got tracks on the top.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of tank contraption, Mad Max, something.
yeah, I believe that's at a Pappy Hole
Okay.
out that way. Which is it's the world's largest biker bar. Excuse me, is what that is.
Gotcha. Interesting. And Neil, this looks a little more rebel, but I also saw, are there beads involved? Similar to why you're all here. Yeah, you got up on the balcony. Is there a similar beads exchange environment? Warrior all?
I'm not really sure.
Garrett's like, I don't know. I'm too busy selling ice, Ethan. Don't get me in trouble.
I know a lot of people, they just kind of, they like to hit downtown and go to different concerts and grab a drink or some food and hang out with their buddies from wherever across America or across the world. And it's kind of like it's almost like a reunion. I feel like a lot of a lot of people meet their buddies or wherever, come to the Sturgis rally to just be American. I think that's probably what it boils down to being, being able to do what the American spirit says we can do. And that's, be ourselves at the end of the day. And the rally, I think, really brings that all together, I say.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because, I brought up about rebels because honestly, that's how we got started. A bunch of he started. So we'll jump back in over our work. So thank you for amusing us for, it's on that side of the
Well, I did want to, before we go completely away from Sturgis, I wanted to ask, during those 10 days, what does your typical day look like? This past August.
Yeah, this past it was the busiest we ever been. It was the 85th, so it was an anniversary year. So we were even more crowded than I've ever really seen it in the past. But I didn't sleep basically the first week. I did not sleep. Um, I was constantly, loading trucks, getting them out, or I was out delivering ice, or I was answering the phone. I was just all over the place. I'm in Hill City about an hour and a half away. 5 a.m. and I'd be back in Sturgis by 7, getting another truck loaded or whatever. So it was just constant doing something until it calms down. About the last like Thursday or Friday in the rallies when things kind of start calming down and people start packing up to go home and stuff like that. So if you can just get to about Thursday or Friday, you're good. That was my life for basically the week. And then pre-rally, which was the week before, it was kind of the same thing, but at least I could go get a few hours a nap in at least. Be ready to go for a little bit.
Ready to go. So, what I'm kind of hearing from you with your business, and you're talking about, it's really not the summer season per se, it's event driven. So, when people sell fireworks, they've got two main times they can sell fireworks, right? It's going to be New Year's and 4th of July.
Right.
Would you say that that's similar to almost how big a percentage of your business would you say for the, and you don't have to tell annual revenue or anything, but how big a percentage is that for that rally for your overall business, would you say?
I'd say it's probably about 20, maybe. That's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good chunk. It's definitely a nice boost. But it's hard to survive on, 10 days of revenue, I guess.
Right.
But that's it's just a nice boost. That's kind of our mentality of it. We sell a lot of ice and, get our name out there and do what we got to do. And then we get a little break and then back into our everyday, routes and stuff like that.
Very right. So when you were talking about college, you talked about you were 10 years old, and that's kind of when you got, I guess your first looking glass as far as this is something, and to specifically start an ice company and the opportunity. I believe your degree was in business. Talk a little bit more about that, if you don't mind, of how it all drove you to this.
Well, so before we even really got going in this, we had a vending business as well too. So we were doing drink vending. So we were, supplying the machine and coming up every week and refilling all these machines across the Black Hills. And that's kind of where my business mindset, I think, kind of really grew in itself to where the point we are now, getting the ice business going. So it really kind of started with the drink vending business, but we actually did sell that about 2 weeks ago. So we're
Oh, wow. Okay.
out of that. So we had, I want to say it was 25 machines at,
Okay.
so we were running that and then also doing the ice. It was just too much to fumble back and forth. But yeah, I'd say, started that in college. I guess my quasi senior year of college, started doing that and progressed into what we're doing now. But just the ability to go sell yourself, sell your equipment, sell your service, that's really, I think, what's made us successful in the ice business is coming from that drink vending business mindset, in my opinion.
How beneficial did you find, getting your degree in business? Because I've always, getting a business degree isn't very specific unless you kind of have an idea of what you want to get in business to do. So what you already having an idea, were you able to focus in fairly directly in harness kind of that side of things?
Yeah, kinda. My college experience was not the typical one. I started out doing business sports management at a school in Oregon. called Concordia University. It no longer exists anymore. But it's actually how I ended up in South Dakota. Is I was playing basketball at the time, and I got an offer to play the South Dakota School of Mines here in Rapid City, and that's how I ended up in South Dakota, pretty much. And then I became an industrial engineer for those 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went basically just kind of off the rail there a little bit, changing degrees. And then found out, engineering was not for me and just going to do regular business management. And that's what I ended up doing, but went to Black Hill State, which is up in Spearfish, South Dakota. So yes and no. I think college is more of a resourcing tool, meeting people, kind of figuring out where you're going to lead off more so than learning, how to carry the tangent of whatever, it's just too much stuff. I think it's more of a resourcing tool to get your name out there and meet people. And it's not about what you know, it's who you know. I think that's kind of what college is a misconception of. I met some people that have helped me. But college, would I say I'm smarter now than I was when I started college? I'd say maybe not. Probably just have a better idea what I want to do and knowing more people at the end of the day, personally.
Well, I think college can help you check off some of the things you don't want to do. Take a class, like, and you're like, oh, I like math. And then you jump in, you're like, not that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a difference if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. But, that's just not for me. I couldn't do it.
Well, I really find it interesting that you mentioned Cody Sanchez and the idea of boring businesses. If people aren't familiar with her, she's a very well-known entrepreneur, trainer that teaches people to look for those old businesses that people have forgotten about. Laundromats, vending machine routes, all those kinds of things where you potentially could set up a business to basically run itself. And they're overlooked and they're boring. And I think it's interesting that you kind of paired your college experience with some of Cody's mindset to kind of stumble upon, hey, maybe vending machines, vending ice machines. I could build a business that I'd like to run out of this. And that's pretty neat. We want to take a minute and show some pictures of you and your team. And so if you would just kind of tell us what we're looking at, we can see you're in the picture here.
Yeah, that's an old photo. It goes back 2 summers. So we're just out bagging ice, for a small little, event. So we just kind of did a little photo walk next to our, event trailer. That's the trail we take, for like weddings and birthday parties or, emergency ice kind of stuff. We have a bar that goes down. That's the trailer that goes. But that's just me holding a bag of ice at the time.
When I first saw this picture, I thought, man, he makes a small bag of ice, but no, dude.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we got another one here.
So yeah, that's the picture, of us getting that truck loaded. Obviously we don't have a loading dock yet. We are getting that built. But it's when we were in the beginning stages of really getting going, being the distributor for Yellowstone Ice out of Billings. That's really what this photo's kind of is. We're the first pallet that we've got for them and going out on our truck that day.
And how far are you guys from Billings, Montana?
So we're about 4.5 hours, just under 300 miles right now. So it's not a bad trip. It's basically a day trip up and back. So we'll typically go up and just get a truckload of ice and come right back. So that's actually my father during the rally this past year. So he was out delivering ice to a couple bars and whatnot in downtown Sturgis.
So does he work with you all the time, or was this a, hey, all hands on deck, Dad, I need somebody to help out?
During rally time, it's all hands on deck. So during the summertime, he'd help me, here and there. Not as much as mostly me or another one of our guys out working predominantly. But then he hasn't been doing anything the last few months, actually. So he's been kind of enjoying that time away, I do believe, from throwing bags of ice. But yeah, come rally time for the week and the week prior, it's all hands on deck for sure.
How tall is your dad?
He's about 6'5", 6'6", and I outgrew him, and I want to say going into 7th grade. Oh,
You should.
yeah.
So that's like I told you, I was curious with my son, and you're talking about sports. I'm going to get back to sports in a few minutes because what you're talking about with basketball. But I noticed. Well, let me actually go back. We'll come back to this one. This trailer that you guys have, and one important thing that I don't want people to miss, and is, where you started with it. And Jeff was talking about so that, the different businesses that, in that lady, what was her name?
Cody Sanchez.
Okay. Yeah. Just so, I always think of that as similar to like stocks. There's a lot of stocks people think are boring stocks, like say Coca-Cola and some others, but they pay a dividend. I don't remember if Coca-Cola does, but there's a lot of stocks out there that you can invest in, and people, that's not a sexy stock,
Right.
but yet it's just every year it's a good business, good stock to get into. And what I like and what I'm hearing from your story that I really appreciate is, taking an opportunity, taking a risk, but you're also growing that, right? So you're talking about you don't have a loading dock yet. And my point being is this trailer that you have, I haven't seen a lot of large reefer trailers and cold storage. I'd like to know about your cold storage of whenever you get those trucks in from Yellowstone. I it talk a little bit about your back storage of what you're doing, and then I want to ask you about this trailer in a second. So tell us about how you're storing the ice first. So we come off the picture for just
Yeah. So right now we're using it's basically just a big semi trailer. We have it plugged into a 3-phase power, so it runs on electric. And that's kind of our storage or cold storage right now. But we are building a building right now. It's going to have a loading dock and a 30 by 40 freezer room in there. So we'll be able to hold about 100 pallets of ice in this building.
Oh, good.
And we're getting ready to start, hopefully, start breaking ground on that by the beginning of February, I think, this year. Everything goes planned with weather and that kind of stuff. So, but that's what we were doing all before, this point. This past summer, we were just using diesel reefers with big semi trailers that you see going up down the road.
Yeah.
We're using those, then utilizing our electric reefer that we have plugged in now, and then also our smaller trailer, which you saw in that past photo. So we're using a lot of, obviously a lot of diesel. So it was definitely a lot of growing pain the past summer. But we got through it, and that's all that matters. So now we finally got to the point where we can, grow and really grow this thing to where it needs to be.
Well, so we'll go back to that photo now, Jeff. Thank you for kind of coming off of it for a second. So one of the things that I noticed, I think we have a video, so we'll play that video, and we'll be right back. So with that video, I haven't ever seen one of these trailers. Now we're not ice manufacturers, so they may be out there, okay. But this is like a mini reefer trailer that I saw. You saw the unit, the cooling unit back there. You see just like the picture that we have here with your dad, that you got the plastic, to be able to try to keep that cool in. So when you come in and out. So where did you get those trailers? Were they custom made? Is it something that you bought? Tell us about that small trailer.
So yeah, that sure is mass produced. It was made by King Tech. I want to say they're down in Georgia. I actually bought the trailer used from a local farmer up here in South Dakota. And he was using it, haul cabbage and stuff like that down to farmers markets in Denver area. He was getting out of the business, and it's been a really great trailer for us. It goes down to -4 degrees, so it was perfect for us. But we don't keep it at -4 degrees, obviously, in the trailer. But it's a 7x12 King Tech. I know you can get them on smallrefrigeratortrailers.com, and I want to say he's down in Georgia as well too. But but there's many different brands of reefer trailers out there. You know, there's Polar Temp, Lear makes one. Keentech, obviously. I know there's a couple more smaller guys out there that do build them. We have another one that we're actually getting fabricated into a trailer. It's a little small Lear trailer. It's going to be good for, you know, small weddings and events like that. You know, hold like 70 bags. Perfect for that kind of, you know, event. So I'll have to get you a picture of that when we get that all built.
Sharon, again, you know, our day job is on the software. That you know, quite a few of our customers have went out and they've grabbed U-Haul trailers, you know, but there was no cooling capacity. But most of they're in a pinch. I mean, they are they just
Well, hey,
illiterate,
It- we've had a guy on the podcast show stacking his Cadillac or his convertible full back seat. You got to do what you got to do, right?
Absolutely. So, but yeah, so that's very, very interesting. So we'll put a couple of links that if people want to share or find out more information about that. So appreciate it. Let's go back to the photos. We got a few more. I think just a couple more photos. So tell us about these gentlemen here.
So yeah, that's Cole and Chris. They kind of do a lot of the oddball stuff for us, you know, whether they're delivering merchandisers or moving ice from one truck to another truck, you know, things of that nature. Like that very photo, they're getting ready to take that to a new gas station account we landed down in Rapid City. So they do a lot of the tedious stuff, I guess you want to call it, for us.
Well, one of the things, if you go back, one of the things that surprised me about that picture is I've seen twice the ice machines at all kinds of different places around the country. There's one probably 3 miles from my house, but I've never seen that logo on the top of a merchandiser before. So I wonder how many other folks out there are doing what you're doing. And
I personally talked to a couple they're doing it but in a different way from what I'm doing it. I like doing it the way we're doing because it kind of signifies ourselves as one entity, I guess. You know, is doing the, you know, machine there in Sturgis and also doing the wholesale and distribution. So it all kinds of puts us together as one company, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that goes back to the original question about, or not really the original question, but it was a sub question off of that one, was about competing against yourself. That if you have that vending machine there, then right across the street is a gas station with your ice. You know, you just want to do people CRD more.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to sell ice, and we want to sell a lot of it. No matter, you know, if we're selling to someone or, you know, Joe over here, we're selling it to Blake over here. It doesn't matter to me as long as we're getting a bag out. That's all that matters to us. We just want to sell as much ice as humanly possible. No matter if it's coming from our machine, if it's coming from our wholesale division, it doesn't matter. As long as we're selling ice, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're selling craft ice, one cube at a time is not very profitable.
Yes. No.
Volume is the name of the game. So yeah, so this is our last photo of another team member here, or maybe you drafted somebody in like you did with your dad.
It is actually my dad's buddy Doug, and he came in from Tampa, Florida. So up and helps us for the rally and whatnot. He loves helping out and seeing all the bikes and talking to people and all that good stuff. But they were actually up to watch for South Dakota in that photo. So very small mining town up there.
does he ride up from Tampa?
Oh, he
Flies. It's not that he really wants to come for the rally and he just happens to do some ice on the side.
No, he loves to come up and just see the bikes and talk to people. That's really his thing. He's kind of a sales rep down there in or I'm not sure what he sells. I just know he does something in sales. I know he loves talking to people and kind of getting out there and that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, before I jump into the icebreaker, you were talking about playing basketball. I want to know, did you play all 4 years? Were you I mean, honestly, if you're basketball being 6'8", Or did you say 6'9"? I'm not positive.
No, I'm 6'8". Yeah.
Yeah, for sure I was thinking 6'8", but you're playing the 4, the 5. I mean, where's
Basketball. So I played 2 years at Concordia University up in Oregon. Then played 2 years at School of Mines. So I played all 4 years. The crazy thing is, I actually had 3 more years of eligibility when I got done playing my 4 years. Due to COVID, and also I broke my foot my sophomore year of college, and also redshirted my freshman year of college as well too. So I just kept stacking up all my eligibility. It's crazy, but
I played 2 years tennis at JUCO, but a few years before you. So I was curious now that they don't count JUCO. Does that mean that I have eligibility?
you could go wow. I guess so. That's what my dad was talking about, going to get a trainer and getting ready for the next season, start putting up again. So
Were you more of a big down low guy, or did you go out on the wing and could you drain a three?
I could drain a 3. I was kind of known as like the I guess the Euro guy of America. So, a lot of these European bigs, they like to play out and also in a little bit. I was kind of the same thing over here. So I get you a 3, post you up down low, or even just do the elbow jump shot there. Um, that was kind of my bread and butter, was doing the elbow or driving and attacking you, from that, extended area a little bit. So that was my thing.
It's nuts to me to think that if you're sub 7 foot, if you don't have a jump shot or from deep, you know, you can't just be a post player anymore. That's just not even NBA's not that way now. It's down to college. About the only way that you could be a post player and be 6'8" now is in high school. So I mean, I think even JUCO, junior college, you got to have range now. So.
Yeah, I know when I was playing in high school and I was playing a national schedule, a lot of these, top high schools in America. We had, 7-footers, 6'10", 6'11". We even had kids that were 7'5", 7'6" that we were playing against. In high school, going off to play, these, top 5 mega schools, across America, college wise. So, I definitely was probably one of the shorter ones when I was in high school, playing that national schedule, compared to playing a local high school conference schedule. But then I got to college, I was kind of one of the big ones since I played D2 versus, D1 or the higher levels of basketball in college, I guess.
Gotcha. Jeff and I both 6'3". Our daughters played volleyball.
You're making me feel small.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, I think on the podcast, but we go to these tournaments, and
Yeah.
we're average height dads, and yes, tournaments are all. It's kind of crazy the way just us as a society is getting bigger, and you can always, it's kind of like money. No matter how rich you think, there's always somebody rich.
So what do you think?
Yeah. So I want to flip over to the Black Hills and talk about that. And as an icebreaker, again, you're not privy to any of these, but if you know any of these areas, or because everybody's heard about Yellowstone, right? So would you say it's similar to Yellowstone? How far are you from? And I know you said you're about what it was 5 or 6 hours from Yellowstone Heights, but tell us a little bit about the beauty of your area, and if you know of any of these pictures that we've got.
Yeah. Not sure where that's at, but we definitely have a lot of hills, few mountains, a lot of luscious green, trees and wildlife around Black Hills. Yeah, definitely a lot of buffalo. I've heard there's some bears. We have a lot of elk too. It's got to be really careful driving at night around here. Obviously deer. There's a lot of fox. I've seen some bobcats in the past. Lots of wildlife, lots of stuff to do kind of year round. If you're into ice fishing, snowmobiling, skiing, we have that stuff in the wintertime. Then summertime is a lot of stuff. We have like bear country, Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse. There's all kinds of different touristy stuff for you to get out and see and explore for.
Yeah. I wanted to take a second and go back to the last picture you had there, Ethan. There's if you're not looking real close, there's a guy camping out in the middle of the lake right there, and that warms my heart a little bit as a Canadian who used to like to go ice fishing and camping and stuff in the winter. You can do it in South Dakota apparently, because somebody's out there doing it. So
Yeah, I love ice fishing. It's a good time.
yeah.
I mean, all right, you two northerner people out your southern, you still got to, you're right. Sell me on ice fishing, okay? Because my dad was a big bass fisherman. I just couldn't necessarily, but you sit down. I know you could put a hut, tent over. Not that come on, you're right. Sell me on this.
All right. Well, I'll take the first stab at it. So one of the benefits that I enjoyed of ice fishing is that you don't necessarily have to stand there and actively fish the whole time. You you set up the hole, you set up a tip up, and then you go play. Okay, so that's a little contraption that sits over the hole that when somebody pulls on the line, it pops up a flag because this is about something. Yeah, something activates the bait, then a little flag pops up and waves.
Yeah, you're losing the even worse because that's hey, what are you?
Well, it's not always a fish, but
Well, but not, you just say, see, I'm not saying it's lazy, okay? I'm not
it is lazy. That's the best part about the
There
history.
you go.
right, Barrett, do a better job telling me on this.
Well, so instead of just having one hook out there, you can have 7 or 8 holes at one time. So you can catch 7, 8 times more fish than you would typically, fishing out of a boat or on the shore.
So how long are you saying, all right, I'm going to go ice fishing? Because like if I go play tennis, I'm going to go play tennis 2 to 3 hours. Okay. Like ice fishing, how long can you expect to go out and actually feel like how long does it take to fish? Do you have certain times of the day that's better than others?
Yeah, it depends on the weather. A lot of times, there's some days you can just not catch a bite. There's some days you're running 2, 3 miles in the ice, going around all your holes, getting the fish off. Holes. So, I mean, it really depends. But, that's you can catch a lot more fish, I think, than you can, out in the boat or on shore, in my opinion.
So you got riddle me this though. If it's dependent on the weather, I mean it's always ice on cod and always cold below. So how does the weather affect? I mean, because I do know that if it's a bright sunny day, it can still go through the ice. Got it. But is there anything else besides that? Because besides it being like below 70, I'm not going out there. Is that the only thing that depended on the weather?
It's really about the pressure, but it's also kind of weather dependent. The more pressure that the fish can feel, that it basically just tells them, hey, you're not hungry, pretty much. He won't bite. It's kind of the same, kind of goes hand in hand, for open water fishing or ice fishing. But the less pressure, that's the better time to get out there on the ice and catching fish because they're gonna be hungry and biting.
What's the biggest fish you ever caught? Now I'll come to Jeff and ask kids. Not a lot.
Actually, it was probably, I mean, it was a real small one. It was probably like an 11-inch trout. Well, it wasn't a very big one.
Well, I got to say, I'm glad that Barrett was on to answer the question with a higher level of skill about the pressure and all that. Um, I was a teenager, so all I knew was we could play cards sitting in the chalet while it was nice and warm and take a look out. And, oh, there's a flag and go running down to the ice and fish. I mean, it's perfect.
I'd rather go do I'd rather do with you, but that's what you're saying. Seth got fish, and I'm not sold. I'm not buying. So
I'll get you out there one time. It'll be fun.
hey, you take me out with this scenery, you got a deal, Brad. So
You get it. It's beautiful.
Makes them a believer.
tell you what, the off air we're gonna have to sit. Yeah, I will go ice fishing with you if you take me to scenery like this.
It's supposed to be 55 here today, so it'll be the perfect time to get out right now.
Check over the flags.
Well, thank you for kind of going along that side of it. So, we talk about some your overall like hobbies, interests. Do you have anything else besides hooping it up and ice fishing that you do outside or not outside of your business?
Yeah, I love snowboarding, if you can imagine that. Also love going snowmobiling, even just staying at home, watching movies or cooking. That'd probably be my biggest hobbies, I would say, or wrenching on some Facebook Marketplace project I find, put in do that, occasionally, but not as much as I'd like to. But yeah, I do a lot more, I think, winter based stuff just because of the business a little bit. So summertime I'm always out working, wintertime is more my time off. I can get out and do some stuff.
Yeah. What's your favorite dish? What do you said you like cooking? Wait, are you talking about grilling? Are you watching the Food Network and making?
Oh, I mean, I grill sometimes, not very often. Do more stuff in the kitchen, like some chicken Alfredo or even like some homemade pizza or stuff like that.
Okay. So, I want to ask you, as a newer comer to the ice industry, your business is just a few years in. A lot of the folks watching today are, legacy icemen who've been around for generations. What do you see in the future for the ice industry? What comes to mind when we ask that?
I think for, South Dakota, it's more about the price service. I'd say I think a lot of companies have gotten away from service. That's just across America, from all these different, people that I talk to across America, these different ice companies, that's their one thing is service. So I think, it's probably more technology based, to help increase their service level to their customer. So that's what I kind of see in the near future. I think, I think the business concept's going to stay the same. There's no difference in, putting a bag of ice in a box. That has really not changed. I don't think it's ever going to change, in my opinion. I think more of the service-based or behind-the-scenes stuff is what you'll see different in years to come, I think.
I know you launched into, the discussion you had with our team here just about software and some other things, but you also realize that monitoring, knowing what's in the box is important to you. What was the maturation of you deciding you talk about technology, right? So what path did you go along technology to get where you're at today? And what do you see moving forward on that front?
Yeah, I think really the biggest technology we started out with was route ice. And I think that was part of the beginning of us trying to provide better customer service to, our customers that we had at the time. So we had a couple of customers that were about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from our place in Sturgis. And it was like, well, it's not worth it to run, 20 or 30 bags of ice down there every Monday. Or I think that's when our customers really started appreciating that they were getting a good rotation of ice. They were never running out of ice at the same time. And I think that's really when it started to elevate our customer service, and it also helps out answer the phone too. So,
Yeah.
um, I think route ice was really the tipping point for us, and that was, I think last summer it was that we started using route ice, and it really helped out a lot. And now we're using Route Man now. I think that's really taken us a step above now. So we're a lot more organized than we were, a few months ago. It was a little all over the place a little bit there. So,
Well, we don't preach our own song or our own message very often. We will sing our own song, but we're almost an hour into this conversation. I think folks that are still listening will find it interesting. It's pretty rare that an ice company calls me and they say, Route Man is not what I need right now. But you followed it up with, I think Route Ice is what I need right now. And I actually agreed with you guys. I agree that you only had a smaller number of customers, and you said, if I just take the money that I would spend on the routing software, on any routing software, and put it on monitors, I could grow my business better. And then you called us back this year and said, okay, I need some routing software because I've gotten all these accounts and things are going great. And I think, we're just happy to be a part of the story and happy to be able to serve folks, whether they're small or large. I mean, that's our goal.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I want to clarify for any for our listeners that they hear route ice, they hear route man, they hear monitoring. So just to kind of consolidate all of that, we're talking about monitoring. So I won't use the products that we you know do our day job with, but monitoring the level in the ice spots and being remote monitored, so you're not having to connect into the store's Wi-Fi or something like that. So it's for what you had, Barrett, that ability to be able to put a device and have that monitored, that's what you're talking about. So there's other competitors of ours against our product but in the general sense, I just wanted the audience to know that's what we're talking about, is monitoring that. And that's a separate platform that we have that, you don't have to have, the back end software that, runs your business. So you could actually do that. Again, not an advertisement for what we do, because there's competitors out there that you could look out and find. Now, I'm not going to tell them that.
We're not going to hate if you give us a call.
So
Right. We're not going to hate on that. But again, I just wanted to consolidate that so people know that you can monitor the icebox. And, Barrett, I think you put it very well in that sense that, you said that the customer appreciated the customer service of that. But for you as an iceman, that distribution cost is so large for you that if you're going and delivering, we surmise, well, in your case, it's more than this, but if you're not delivering 60 to probably 70 bags of ice, it's not worth it. So if you're driving that far, you probably need to be dropping 100, bags or more to break even. So you need to go out and maximize that. And that's what that technology does. So even if you didn't use our product, that's what that product is designed to do in the industry for managing. So I know that's a long diatribe, but I wanted people to know that it's not just our product. There are solutions out there to make you more productive. So yeah, Bear, do you have any follow-ups on that?
I couldn't tell you how much fuel we have saved in the 2 years of using it. I mean, it's thousands of dollars in fuel we probably save. Just on it, going to different spots that don't need ice at the moment.
Right.
I mean, it's been a definite efficiency.
It's a win-win-win. Yeah, and the key is you're not letting the customer down. You're gonna know, and you're gonna be able to maximize your sales either way, which is just fantastic.
Well, they also like it because it takes the responsibility off them. So now they don't have to call or go on, an email or anything to email, hey, I need more ice. It's just now. So a lot of our customers really like that they don't have to worry about it. They just know it's going to show up and they just have to pay for it, and that's it.
Yep.
Well, you're almost out of time on the podcast here. So things scoot by, particularly when we're having fun. So we appreciate you kind of going off script here, and we talked about all different stuff. But truly, I don't know if we've ever did a percentage, but I bet our podcasts are 70% not even about ice. So or the industry, but we enjoy it to get to know people, and we get takeaways from every one of these. Kind of wrapping up here, who has been your biggest influence, would you say, in life and or work?
Probably my father. He was a businessman growing up. He started his own construction business, then started his own self-storage business now. And I think just looking up to him and seeing how he runs things, at such a high efficiency level, and him kind of putting that on me a little bit now has helped us, I think, be more efficient, more profitable, and also at the same time keep growing. So I think, definitely my father, just seeing his business grow from when it was when I was a kid in 04 to what it is now. It really gives me a lot of hope in seeing us in 10 years, 5 years, whatever it may be.
Very cool. Well, the last question I'm going to ask is, what advice do you have for companies out there in 2025, maybe maybe someone's considering getting into ice or they're doing something similar to you, what advice would you give them?
When others zig, you zag. So don't do the same thing as other people. Differentiate yourself some way, somehow. I think that's probably been the biggest thing in our selling point is doing something different from the big corporate company here in town. So I think just separating ourselves that way is really what's made us grown and into the point now where, we're probably one of the leading, suppliers in Western South Dakota, I think. Just because we've done stuff differently from seeing what they do and not working, we do the complete opposite. And by the grace of God, it works.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Listen to your customers. And,
Yeah, for you that, as you continue to grow and, if there's anything that we can ever do, please let us know. And, if I'm sure there's other people listening that, like Jeff was saying, that has thought about it, if they find themselves on, looking into a boring business, there it is, nice, doing some stuff. I think they can take some inspiration from you on this. So congratulations on continued growth there. And we appreciate you joining us. So we've been coming to you from the Routman Studios here at KCS headquarters in Pelham, Alabama. We so greatly appreciate it. We're filming this right before Christmas and New Year's. So we're hoping to get this out. So we'll probably be right after Christmas, but we hope everyone's enjoyed their holidays.
Happy days, everybody.
So you are our last interview for the 2025 year. And again, we appreciate you joining us.
yeah, thank you so much, Barrett, for taking the time and sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.